Yeah, thank you. Well, first of all, thank you for joining the call. Second of all, today we are going to scratch the surface, talking about GitHub Actions. GitHub Actions is an amazing tool, and actually, Microsoft did really great uh, creating this tool. So let's start with GitHub Actions. And if I was told that there exists such a tool as GitHub Actions, I would go ahead and ask, so what is GitHub Actions? And as I said before, GitHub Actions is a tool created by Microsoft. Actually, it's not just a tool, right? It's a continuous integration and continuous delivery platform, well, which allows you to, of course, deploy continuous integration practices into software development, and it really makes your life easier and better. And you can create workflows, you can create single workflow, you can create several workflows. Uh, these workflows are really versatile, and they allow you to do a lot of things. Well, well, first of all, of course, they allow you to build artifacts. They allow you to collect logs. They allow you to do tons and tons of things that you really need. Just to make sure we're all on the same page here, continuous integration is a software methodology which assumes that you commit your code to to a repository as often as possible, and you constantly have software which is ready to be deployed. Well, of course, it requires a lot of testing, and a lot of other things, but that's the main idea. So yeah, you just like I said, you can push a change to your repository or deploy merged pull requests to production. Well, the components of GitHub Actions. So you can configure a GitHub workflow to be triggered when an event occurs in your repository. Well, for example, someone may push something, right? Or someone may create a pull request, or someone may I don't know, may close a pull request, or you know any other event that may occur in your repo can actually trigger a workflow. A typical workflow contains one or more jobs which can run in a sequential order or in parallel. Well, by default, jobs run in parallel, and you need to add several, and you need to add certain settings to make sure that jobs run in sequential order. Each job will run inside its own virtual machine. It's called runner, or inside a container, or you can have your own runners, right? And I want you to recall that every that a new if you run your workflow mm, using using virtual machine runners provided by GitHub, then a new virtual machine runner is created for every job. So that's something that you need to be aware of. Well, so what is workflow, right? Workflow is a configurable automated process that will run one or more jobs, like I said before. And workflows are defined by YAML, yet another markup language. So what I really like about GitHub Actions is that no Jenkins plugins that are getting outdated, and nobody really wants to upgrade those plugins. Uh, well, there are no really complicated, I don't know, expressions or languages that you really need to know if you want to write, mm, if you want to write good pipelines, right? Well, here it's a good old YAML. Well, all you really need to know is how many indentations you should have to make sure that your job runs properly. So these YAML files are checked into your repository, and they will run when triggered by an event in your repo, or workflows can be triggered manually or at a defined schedule. Well, workflows are defined in the .github workflows directory in a repository. And this .github workflows directory in a repository is not something that you can change. So this is .github workflows directory is a must if you want to run your workflow. So this is where your YAML file with workflow will live when you create your workflows. So, like I said before, a repo can have multiple workflows, and these workflows can actually perform different set of tasks, and they can deploy your application every time a release is created, excuse me, or build artifacts, or I mean, so it's a full-scale, grown-up continuous integration server, and it can actually do all the things that an enterprise level software uh, should uh, should be able to do. Well, this is yet another. This is a picture that actually shows you what happens, right? So there is an event that triggers job one on the first runner, then job two is getting triggered on the second runner. So like I said before, well, every job runs on a separate runner. Well, so I talked a lot about events, right? So what is event? So an event is a specific activity in a repository that triggers a workflow run. Uh, well, for example, someone creates a pull request, opens an issue, or pushes a commit to a repo. It can well, these all are events, and they all can trigger workflows. Well, so what are jobs? Well, job is a set of steps in a workflow that is executed on the same runner. So each step of the job of a job is either a shell script or an action that will be run. Well, steps are executed in order and are dependent on each other. Uh, so as I mentioned before, jobs can depend on one another because let's say, for example, you have several jobs, and the first jobs run some tests. Well, the first job runs some lint checks. The second job runs some tests. And then the third job actually creates uh, uh, creates an artifact, right? So these are sequential jobs, and one job depends on another, and so the dependent job needs to complete before the next job would run. Well, actions are actually the foot soldiers of um, of GitHub Actions. Well, Actions is a custom application for the GitHub Actions platform that performs a complex but frequently repeated tasks, right? You can use Action to help reduce the amount of repetitive code that you write in your workflow files, excuse me. Once we're done with this presentation, I mean, with these files when we're ready to get our hands dirty. I will absolutely show you where you can find these actions and how to define whether an action is trustworthy or not really. Well, an action can pull your Git repository from GitHub, set up correct toolchain for a build environment, and action can actually upload your artifacts to a storage in GitHub, and so on and so forth. Well, GitHub Marketplace is the only place where you can search for actions and mm, where you can find them, right? Well, uh, runners. So what are runners? Well, runner is a server that actually runs your workflows when they're triggered. Each runner can run a single job at a time. Well, and here's the thing. GitHub GitHub provides Ubuntu Linux and Microsoft GitHub provides Ubuntu Linux, Microsoft Windows, and macOS runners for your workflows. Well, these are the only choices of operating systems that you currently have. If we're talking about GitHub provided runners, of course you can create your custom runner, and you can attach it to your GitHub Actions, right? To your GitHub Actions in your repo, and you can run your workflows uh, on your custom runner. And since it's your custom runner, you can install any kind of operating system, any kind of software that you need. But of course, you will have to administer these runners by yourself. So once I had a question about, hey, how about if there is an instance beyond a very strict firewall, and let's say how I can excuse me, how can I connect this instance to the GitHub act to make sure that it can run workflows? How can I connect it to GitHub Actions? So the answer here is, of course, is custom runner that is connected to your GitHub Actions, and this is how you can actually run your workflows. Well, that was the so this is the last slide, and let's get our hands dirty. I have prepared something for us to look at, and I would like to start with something small. Here I have, well, I prepared this. Hopefully, I have logged into my
We
GitHub.
we can see our chat.
Oh, my apologies. Right, but yeah, but okay. Oh,
No, it's okay.
uh, new window. Let's make new window. GitHub.com. Okay. So, I have prepared this beautiful, brand new, shining repo. Mm, yeah, it's called softserve demo. And let's take a look at what we have here. Excuse me. This is the very basic. This is the very basic workflow, and pay attention to where it lives. Mm, it lives, of course, soft serve demo, right? And GitHub workflows and basic demo YAML. Let's take a look at this workflow and let's try to find out what it does. So, starting from the top. Well, the name of this workflow is Hello World, and if we go to Actions, well, Actions actually is where your GitHub Actions live, right? If we go to Actions, here we have a Hello World. Then this name on. What is on? On actually defines what triggers your workflow, right? In our case, I did it intentionally. It can be triggered only manually, right? on workflow dispatch. This is how you define that your workflow can be triggered only manually. So let me say it again. I did it intentionally. Then we go to jobs. Our job, it's a pretty basic job. It's called Hello World job. Then pay attention to indentations here. So we have jobs, then we indent the name of the first job. It's called Hello World job. Then we define what it runs on. It runs on Ubuntu latest. Like I said before, we have Ubuntu, we have Microsoft OS, and we have Mac OS. Here we choose to run our workflow on Ubuntu latest. Then the name of the job. It's called a job to say hello. And these are steps. Excuse me. Steps are actually the steps are the place where we define what we want to do. So we name the step Hello World Action Step. The ID is hello. Why do we need this ID? We need this ID so we can print out output of this step of the step Hello World in the step get the output time. Then we use actions Hello World Docker action. I was talking a lot about marketplace. So let's take a look at it. Well, behold, GitHub Marketplace. Let's take a look at the action that we use here. It's called Hello World Docker action. Let's try to find it. Well, there it is. Pay attention that this action has not been verified by GitHub. Well, there is a single contributor, and this action mm, is actually uh, supported and developed by a single person. And well, you can use this action. You can use such actions without actions that have not been confirmed. Authenticity of which, well, if authenticity of actions has not been confirmed by GitHub, well, you can use such actions in test environments and in sandboxes. But I strongly suggest you don't use such actions in your prod environments. Let's move further, and it uses this action, and then we have with. Here in with, we define the input for this action. And then the next step is get the output time and echo the time was steps. Here comes steps. Hello, the ID hello outputs. This action produces some outputs, and we want time. So steps hello outputs time. And this is how you define variables in GitHub Actions. Since I've already pushed it to the repository, uh, it already lives here. And here we can start this workflow manually, right? So run workflow and run workflow, and let's see if it runs. Well, hopefully it should run. Let me refresh this page. And hello world. It jumps to say hello. Well, GitHub Actions sets up sets up an environment for us, right? Operating system Ubuntu, long time support. We have this runner image Ubuntu and runner image provisioner and GitHub token permissions. Well, GitHub token permissions, GitHub token here is used for authentication, right? And then here we have our hello world Docker action. Here we create a Docker. Here we create a Docker container. Here we have our layers, and this is actually where we create our Docker image. And hello world action step. this is the command that was this is the command that actually was well remember this input and get the output time. We actually receive our output time. So what happened here? A Docker image was created, then a Docker container was launched from a Docker image, and then inside of the Docker container, mm, uh, this command was wrong, and this is the output. But this is just the beginning. Let's switch to something more meaningful. Here I created um, here I created a couple of things. Uh, Let me copy paste this workflow to make sure that all the indentations are in place. So we have this workflow, and we actually, come on. Well, no, isn't gonna work like that. Copy, workflows, and paste. And let's call it just demo, right? So what's happening here? Here we have a bit more. Here we have a bit more advanced. Well, at least it's longer. Workflow file. It's called deploy website. Well, we're not going to deploy anything anywhere. Well, it's just here to to look good, but we'll get there. So, how do we call this workflow? We call it deploy website. What should trigger this workflow? Well, this workflow should be triggered by a push to the branch main. And pay attention here. We can actually list several branches here. Let's say, for example, we want to react only to pushes to the branch develop. But here we have branch main, and we react to the branch main. And at the same time, we want to be able to run this workflow manually. So here come our jobs. Well, nothing unfamiliar should be here for us. We have jobs. We have a list of jobs. The first job is test, and it runs on Ubuntu latest. And here comes steps, right? We have get code, actions, checkout of version 4. And let's take a look at this checkout. As you can see here, this action uh, checkout v4 was created by a verified creator. This is the tick that actually tells you that this action was created by a verified creator. And this is really important because if you didn't have any other limitations, right, you should be able to use actions created by you should be able to use safely these actions that were created by a verified creator. So we have this actions checkout. So this checkout, well, this checkout action does what we expect it to do. It actually checks out the latest updates to the repo. Then we install Node.js, right? We set up Node. We didn't really have to do that. I mean, and because all these GitHub action runners, they already have Node.js installed, but we just want to experiment with different actions, right? And pay attention here that we install the Node version 20. Then we install dependencies. Then we run lean checks. Then we test code. So the next step is build, right? It needs test. Well, it needs test. It means that this job, remember I mentioned this dependent job. So this is the case. So this build job needs this test job to finish successfully, right? And then it runs on on Ubuntu latest. A new GitHub runner will be created for every job, and this is why. Excuse me. Oh, and this is yeah, and this is and this is why we actually yeah I missed a step here. It's brilliant. Check out. Okay. And this is why. And this is why we actually repeat this checkout, and this is why we install this Node.js again, because the and install dependencies because it's a brand new virtual machine, and therefore we need to run these tasks again, again, again. Well, of course, we can automate it. Of course, we don't have to do that every time. But since here we're scratching the surface, let's keep it. Let's keep it this way. So as you can see here, we install dependencies, right? And then we upload artifacts. So the name of the upload artifacts are dist files, and I know that these artifacts are created in this dist directory. So this is why I put here path, right? The path to the files that should be archived, right? To our artifacts. And this is actually our quote unquote deploy step that needs this build to be that needs this build to be done, to be finished. And so here we use this action uploader artifact, right? Upload artifact to the GitHub. And here in this job, we use download artifact because we need these artifacts, I don't know, for a certain reason. So enough of talking. Let's see if it works. It should. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And let's see what's happening mm, in our repo. Okay, code, workflows. We have basic demo, and as you can see, our first demo, no cache needed. So we actually set up job, we get code, we install Node.js, right? We install dependencies, we run lint code, and we run some tests, and then we have certain step post install and post get code, and then the job was successfully completed. Actually, we have pretty much the same things mm, on every step. But pay attention here. Excuse me, on every job. But pay attention here is that uh, we have jobs that ran one after another, and this is something that we wanted, right? So this build this build thing, it should upload artifacts somewhere. Well, this is the link how you can this is the link for that you can use to download artifacts. But I want to see the artifacts. Show me the artifacts. And these are our artifacts. These artifacts can live here for up to 90 days. 90 for up to 90 days. Well, unless of course you terminate this. Unless of course you delete these artifacts earlier. So let's return to our code here. I already mentioned that we have certain repetitions. And yeah, we can, of course, we can improve this workflow, and this is something that's something that we probably should do, but not now. Uh, let's try to deploy something that we call cache. Well, cache actually, well, judging by its name, it allows you to store files that don't really change that often. Uh, and it actually allows you to save some time. And if you use GitHub Actions in prod, well, of course you don't want to be your repos public. You want your repos to be private. And if your repos are private, you will be charged for using uh, runners. And the sooner you can finish your job, the less you will pay. And I think that money should be spent wisely, and I'm sure that wastes are bad. So let's see what we can do with cache. Let me return to my already created demo prep GitHub and demo with cache. Well, mm, I will copy this cache dependencies, copy, and I will paste it before, excuse me, over the install dependencies. Allow me to correct indentations. And of course, so what's happening here? Um, what's happening here? Here we cache our dependencies. So we install dependencies, right? On every in every job we install dependencies, and we're just wasting time and resources. I mean, we need these dependencies, but hey, let's save these dependencies in cache, right? Because these dependencies do not change that often. So this command key allows you to save your dependencies using hash files. Why do we need hash files? We need hash files to make sure that if certain dependencies change, that our package log JSON file will have the same name, and we will be able to connect to it and not to change the names, and not to hard code anything. And let me open it in Integrate Terminal, where we are, GitHub Workflows, and let me add it. Okay, where we are now. Yeah, we are. Mhm. Okay, let's see what's happening here. Well, pay attention here, guys. Well, cache dependencies. Cache restored successfully. So what it actually means? It means that while installing dependencies, we didn't install dependencies from scratch. We used cache, and actually it allowed us to increase the velocity of our build. I mean, here it's a test build. It's a getting started. It's a get excuse me workflow. Here it's getting started workflow. Here it's very basic workflow. But just imagine if you have bigger workflows with a lot of artifacts, with a lot of dependencies that you need to install. And this is where this cache can be of great help. So I strongly suggest you use it whenever it is possible and wherever it is possible. So mm, that's it from my side. And yeah, we have several questions in chat. Oh, lovely. Dmitry, hey, thank you for your question. But I strongly suggest that for all those, since it's getting interested, thinks it's a getting started thing, and I strongly suggest that all those interested in reusable workflows and composite actions, they take a look at the documentation, because these topics are too broad to mention them here in this getting started presentation. So yeah, a few words. Or reusable workflows and composite actions. Reusable workflows are workflows that can be called from any other workflows. And let's say if you have and if you have maybe certain requirements, right? Or you need to have a certain template for your workflows. Of course, you can use reusable workflows. And composite actions, they would actually allow us to get rid, excuse me, oh gosh, how do you close it? To get rid of these repetitions here, the reusable actions. But like I said before, for further information about these actions, please um, check the documentation. Uh, check the documentation. Run some tests in your own local environment. It will help you. It will help you a lot more. Well, actually, no. Because no, there is no way to run your workflow locally. Because actually, when you run your workflow, uh, your GitHub, excuse me, yeah, when you run your workflow, your GitHub installs this GitHub Actions to your repository. So this thing works only in GitHub repos. So there is no, you just can't run these things locally. So GitHub Actions can only run on GitHub. So no, you can't you can't run these things locally. You can't run workflows locally.
Sergey, I suppose that Jan's question was related to self-hosted runners.
Ah, custom runners. Oh, yeah, I mean, yeah, sure. You can.
Sorry, not exactly.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, my question was related to how to run workflow locally because I don't know some typos, mistakes when you when you have some complex task
Mm-hmm.
and job, it's
Mm-hmm.
easy to make some mistake and you can find out only when you push it already. So I would like to have as a developer, I would like to have kind of fail fast flow and get feedback quicker a bit, just to avoid it. Maybe
Yeah.
some linters, I don't know.
Yeah, linters, linters can help, yeah, absolutely. But like I said before, Jan, you can't really run your workflows locally, right? Because you need this functionality that can only be provided in your GitHub repo. Well, my advice here would be, hey, how about if you just keep your workflow, I don't know, as simple as possible for at least some time, right? To receive, to catch your typos or errors earlier. And I, for one, started using GitHub Copilot recently. It's a beautiful thing. Absolutely recommend. But to answer your question, no, you cannot run GitHub Actions locally.
We have question from Vladislav.
Oh, I don't see it here.
It's raise hand.
I've just raised hand. Yeah,
Oh, my
if I can.
apologies.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no
sure.
worries.
Yeah, sure.
Uh,
Please go ahead.
I just have a couple of probably silly questions, but
No, 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 no.
if
No question. No, no question is silly. Please shoot.
yeah, okay. Just to want to know if you had something in your previous experience. So you mentioned that we should use actions from like trusted publishers.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Is it your like suggestion for production only or for everything?
Well, actually, this is I read it somewhere that, the- well, if you ask me, hey, Sergey, I'll give you $1 million. Just drop me a link to where you read it. No, I will not drop you a link. But as far as I remember, this is a recommended way to run your workflows, especially if we're talking about productions. Well, actually, since we're talking about it, if we go to settings and if we go to actions, if we go to general, right, here actually you can allow all actions and reusable workflows, right? You can disable actions totally. You can uh, you can allow actions only from this repo, right? And here you can allow actions uh, well, all kind of actions, and here you can mark allow actions by marketplace verified creators.
Mm-hmm.
So like I said before, it's a recommendation, and it truly depends upon your requirement, right? If you're developing some, I don't know, some software that will not be used to launch a shuttle into space, or that is not, I don't know, critically important for someone. So I guess, well, maybe you could use non-verif
Mm-hmm.
actions created by non-verifying creators. But the best practice is, of course, to use actions created by verified creators.
Mm-hmm. And the second checkbox, allow actions created by the GitHub, is those that have actions prefix, yeah?
Well, it's a good question that I cannot answer right now.
Mm-hmm.
Well, because well,
Just to,
well, thank
no
you.
worries, no worries, no
Yeah,
worries.
I
I
mean,
just want.
yeah, sure,
Uh-huh.
absolutely. Thank you for your question. This is something that I will check. Well, thank you for your question again. I will check it. Well, thank you.
One more. In the first YAML, you had on workflow dispatch statement.
Excuse me. What line
In
is this?
the basic demo YAML, in
Yeah,
the
okay.
basic,
Uh-huh.
yeah, on second string on workflow dispatch, second
Yeah,
row,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. Hmm.
You mentioned that this statement allows us to trigger the pipeline manually,
It's not
but
it's not pipeline, it's workflow. Yeah, identical to
workflow. Okay,
pipeline, but it's workflow. Yeah.
okay, workflow. But I met the situation sometimes or some time ago. I met the situation that if my pipeline, my workflow is not present in main branch of the repo, I am not able to trigger it manually. So only when I push it to my main or master. Only after that I would be able to trigger it.
If we go to well, thank you for your questions. Absolutely appreciate it. Oh,
If you know how to overcome this situation, because
well,
there could be like
let's check.
yeah.
Let's check together. In my opinion, it happens because well, there should be certain limitations, like on workflow dispatch, and then a branch, right, should be stated somewhere. Let's check it together. On
I have similar situation, have some comment about that, and agree with Vladislav that for sure, in case you would like to start using dispatch stuff, at first you should at least merge the domain, but after you could just make new branch and add the several more branch, including your own new like feature branch. And starting from that point, you will be able to run this dispatch just choosing another branch. That's correct. Like maybe a workflow for you.
Well,
Okay,
because
so you know, because I met a situation, then like I had main branch and it doesn't have any workflow, so I started to create workflow in the separate branch and wanted to test these workflows, but I was not able to run it manually, only specifying different type of events like pull request or branch. So that's why that's was my main concern. So, and thank you for the clarification that I should first push it to main branch. Yeah.
well, thank you guys for your question. Thank you for your answers. It's really educational. Thank you very much.
And if I can, I want to ask one more.
I can comment on the last question. I think if you change the tracked branch or main branch within this repo settings, you can actually target not main as a quote main branch. So essentially, if this is like a sandbox playground repo, you can make a non-main branch your main and run the workflow dispatch essentially from your feature branch. But this is not usable, completely non-usable in Teams. Because everybody want to contribute to some main branch and you will play with it and it will just disrupt the working process. So, but in general, you can do it.
Yes, thank you. And pay attention, guys. Using tiering structure of your environments, just in case you break anything, let's do that on sandbox or dev environment, not on production directly.
Yeah, and one more question, not maybe only to Sergey, but for everyone. If I have multiple repos in organization and in one workflow, I need to check out separate private repo. I think the only way to do that is only using path. Is it correct?
Can't really say.
Maybe someone knows.
Well,
because path is tied to the user account, and like
there is a new way to do it that called how does it called? It's called deployment key. That you can add to the multiple repos. So you should generate it somewhere and add it to multiple repos. Then you can check out. So the
deployment key is for Jenkins.
No, deployment keys. GitHub
like
Actions also
key.
has deployment keys.
Mm-hmm.
You can place it within the runner and then add these deployment keys to desired repos, and then you can check out. Assumingly, these deployment keys are added to your desired repos, and there are no limitation on the repo settings. You can check out multiple repos. I think this page that Sergey is using can tell you about that more. So,
yeah, because the problem of path is that I can't really limit the amount of repos that I can like read or write to.
If I'm not mistaken, path is going to be deprecated in like a year or two because it's pretty outdated. If I'm not mistaken, but I might be mistaken. But most of the projects I've participated in use deploy keys as a to-go method of authentication. It's more modest and more granular. So yeah.
Excuse me.
Okay, thank
Excuse
you.
me. Yeah, sure, absolutely. You're welcome. Well, thank you for your questions. Absolutely appreciate your questions. It was really educational. Thank you very much. Yuri, you mentioned some kind of a note. What note are you talking about?
Yeah, when you turn back to the Google Chrome on the second page,
Second tab here. Yeah, okay.
Oh, sorry. Previously you opened the official GitHub Action documentation about the workflow dispatch, and
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So
you missed the highlighted
workflow
box with the note.
dispatch. Yeah, absolutely. Event the trigger workflows.
Yep.
Hold on for a sec. Workflow dispatch. There you go.
Yeah, and here note. Did you see? This event will only
Trigger
trigger
workflow run if the workflow file exists in the default branch. Yeah, exactly. So yeah,
That's
well,
it.
thank you. Well, thank you very much. Thank you. Yeah, thank you. Absolutely appreciate it. Yeah, so to answer the previous question, this event will only trigger a workflow run if the workflow file exists in the default branch. Well, who could possibly think that it can be so useful to read the documentation? Well, every time it's like the first time. Well, hopefully all questions was answered. All
One
questions.
moment, please.
Yeah,
Regarding
sure.
the workflow dispatcher, yes. How do you manage the permissions to run?
How do I manage? Excuse me, what?
Permissions to run workflows.
Well,
With workflow dispatch, because with environments we can limit some kind of in some way we can limit that permission to run the workflow, for example, for production deployment or for like.
Well, actually, you can create environments, right, in your GitHub, and you can actually, well, let's switch to this beautiful thing here. Settings. We can create environments, right? In these environments, you can create an environment, and in this environment, you can actually define whatever you want to define. So this is
only with environment, right?
Well,
You can handle this.
actually, yeah, but not only with the environment, but environment is the first thing that comes to mind. If you drop me a message with your question, I will be more than happy to investigate because I'm actually in about a couple of weeks I want to pass my GitHub Action certifications, right? And your question will actually to answer your question will the answer to your question will help me to be prepared better. So I would absolutely appreciate if you could drop me your question in an email or just in Teams. I would totally answer your question and thank you for your question.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, we are going deeper into the rabbit hole. So let's keep it simple, guys. Okay? Because I know you're smart and well educated and all that, but somebody, not me, of course, but someone can be here for the first time, and yeah, let's not make it more complicated than it should be. But yet again, absolutely appreciate your question. Thank you very much.
I guess we have one more question or comment from Maxim.
Yeah, I have a question. Let's suppose that we have, I don't know, a couple of repositories, let's say 10, and you're using one GitHub workflow, for example, for every pull request for, I don't know, Terraform format, right? And do you know any good practices if this
Well,
workflow
yeah.
needs to be changed? How to change it in a 10 repositories?
Well, yeah, this is exactly the case that someone here mentioned. Well, this is exactly the case that mentioned Dmytro Dranenko, right? This is the case for reusable workflows. So please go ahead and check what reusable workflows are. To answer your questions, you can create a reusable workflow, right? And you can use it as a template for your 10 repos or for 100 repos, right? And actually, if you want to change something in a single place instead of changing it in hundreds place, right? Well, this reusable workflow is your best bet here.
Okay, cool, thanks.
You're welcome.